Hi, my name is Tibi from the Sensorica Lab, Sensorica Open Valley Network. I just wanted to give you some updates on Nondominium, which is this holochain application that we're developing that allows people, networks of organizations, to steward resource flows and to engage in peer production of all sorts, including material peer production. So, in order for you to get more acquainted with Nondominium, you can go to the Sensorica website and just type Nondominium, or you can go to GitHub, look for Sensorica and Nondominium, and you can point your agent, AI agent, to it and ask questions about how relevant this is for you. So, I also want to say that this development goes in 3 phases. We call them 3 layers, and we are at the bottom one, layer 0, which is identity. This is where agents generate their credentials, and this is where resources are put on the system. And every resource has its own identity, let's say. So it's the identity layer. Next one is going to be the specification layer, where resources and agents, we will be able to have a more rich representation of those. The third layer is the organizational and economic model layer, where we have this logic of peer-to-peer economics put into it, and Nondominium becomes essentially sort of the infrastructure of peer production, where people handle not just resources but also all sorts of economic processes, right? Okay, so let's see what this UI is. So this is a day old. We built a very simple UI just to show a little bit of functionality, what we're doing here, and I just want to do a demo for you. Okay, I skipped some steps and advanced a little bit with some steps. But first of all, when you join this thing, we call it a lobby, and you connect with, you create your own, let's say, information or profile. Now this information stays on your computer, so this application is built on holochain, and holochain is serverless, so there is no third party, there is no cloud or server that stores your information, your data, right? That sits on your computer. That's how you're going to connect to things. And so the next thing that you see in this environment, which is a lobby, you see groups. So you can create a group. Okay, let's create this Fablab group. Okay, Fablab Montreal group. And when you create a group, it asks you, how do you want to present yourself to this group? Do you want to be an anonymous person, or you want to be which fields of what you created, this information that sits on your computer, which of these fields you want to be shown to the members of that group? So let's say in this group I want to be anonymous. Okay, and I created here a private group for me, and I created a Sensorica group. So what you see on the left here, these are groups. These are like organizations. Groups can be anything and can have their own governance. So maybe in a group we have a king or a manager, or maybe a group is a company, or maybe a group is just a bunch of friends or neighbors that want to share resources, that want to share tools in their neighborhood. Groups are created and have governance. We can't see that now yet, but that's what it is. You can also join a group if somebody sends you an invite, and this is the group identity right here. Okay, if somebody sends you an invite, you can join a group. And you can create your own group and invite other people to your group. All right, so there's more to groups to come, but that's what it is for now. And this is where you see the members of the group down here. Perfect. When you are within a group, you can create NDOs. An NDO is a primitive on Nondominium, which means Nondominium object. It's a resource. Okay. And so let's create one. Let's see. This is I don't know. Let's say this is an oscilloscope. It's at the Sensorica lab. So you can just specify the identity of that thing. It's in the Commons property regime, or maybe we put it in a Nondominium property regime. It's a physical thing. Could be digital document, could be a service, could be a hybrid thing, or could be just information like, I don't know, a post, a video. And you can select the life cycle of this thing, which could be just an idea, could be a formalized idea, you have some plans. Could be in development, meaning it's a prototype, there's something working about it. Could be a stable thing. Well, an oscilloscope, which is a tool that you use at the lab, it is a stable thing. Or it could be a hibernating thing, a thing that has been forgotten, nobody has used. And electronic equipment, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's how you create the identity of an NDO. There you go. So it's in the Sensorica. There's a glitch here. Once you create it, it should come to this page automatically. All right. So these are the resources that are associated with the Sensorica group. There's TB's electric drill, a private property. I brought my drill there for people to use, but I want to maintain control of the drill. There's a PIP master device, which is actually a project. It's in development. Anybody can join. It's Nondominium. Nobody can control, nobody can own. And it's to make a physical thing. Okay, there's a prototype at the lab. And there's the oscilloscope that we just created, which is a Nondominium object also, meaning that anybody can take it from the lab and use it. If they respect the governance associated with this particular resource. So here's the thing. NDOs exist in an uncapturable environment as uncapturable resources. NDOs have governance associated with them. We haven't worked on these things yet at the UI level because these are level 2 and the activity, it's level 3. Sorry, level 1 and level 2. So we're at level 0 now, so just the identity. But just to let you know that this oscilloscope will have governance rules associated with it, which may say nobody can own this device. It's in the Nondominium property regime. But you can come and take it from where it is. Maybe it's at a Sensorica lab, maybe it's in somebody's garage. You can take it. If you have a certain level of reputation, if you have some credentials that show that you know how to use an oscilloscope, maybe if you're part of an organization, or maybe if you're in Montreal, or whatever. And once you take it and you sign that transaction, you come into possession of that thing, which is, we call it a custodianship transaction. You're responsible for that thing. And if you publicly say that you need it for 2 weeks, after which it becomes available, somebody will find it by browsing the NDOs, which doesn't work yet. Somebody may find it and ask it if it's available. If your 2 weeks of use is expired, that becomes automatically available, so you promise to give it to the next person that comes, and that person is required to respect the governance. Again, have the proper credentials and reputation in the network. Otherwise, you will not give it to him because you're responsible for that thing. So NDOs, non-dominium objects, whatever they are, they're governed with their own governance. It doesn't matter if you create them from a group. Once they exist and you specify their governance, that's what it is. All right, so let's see what we can do with an NDO. This is a project. Well, like any other project on GitHub, take Linux for example, the Linux project. Okay, nobody owns Linux. It's commons. It's something that is shared. But there is some governance associated with who can contribute with data to the, who can contribute code so that it gets into a distro. It doesn't matter which company you work for. Maybe there's a bunch of companies in Montreal that provide consultancy around Linux. They're not selling Linux because it's for free, but they sell consultancy. They can't decide to change that operating system in a way. Maybe they can fork it and just have a personal use or local use, but they can't change a popular distro, like for example Ubuntu. That thing has its own governance, and that governance depends, the rules are associated with who has contributed to the Linux community, to the Linux operating system, who has influence and clout and this and that, for how long, whatever that governance is. So non-dominium objects have their own governance. Groups have their own governance, which are more like organizations. And if you find this NDO on the network, you can actually join it, like you join a project on GitHub. You can fork it, like you fork a project on GitHub and work on it, or you can associate it with your group. This button doesn't work yet, but I can associate it with my TBS group. And then this pip master device, this NDO, this non-dominium object that appears on Sensorica, will also appear in my group. And browse NDOs, what this function does here, if I choose the selectors, but it doesn't work for now, is that it'll go in all the groups that I've joined or created and list all the NDOs that are available. So I can join 100 groups, and each group can have thousands of NDOs, and I can browse all these NDOs. Maybe one day I'm going to look for a 3D printer of a specific type, and I can find it in the group, and maybe according to the governance associated with that 3D printer, I can access it, or maybe I don't have the credentials, so I go and get my credentials as a 3D printer user. So that's how it works. Yeah. So this is supposed to be, these are supposed to be filters by stage. Is it an idea, a specification, a development, a prototype, a stable thing? Is it active? Is it hibernating? Is it deprecated? Is it a physical, digital, or information thing? Is it private? Do I need to talk to somebody about getting it? Or is it commons, shared within a community, or non-dominium, nobody owns? It just goes from user to user, whatever they are. Or a common pool of shareable things that could be under various property regimes. That's another concept that Sensorica uses. Yeah, so that's about it for now. NDOs, you can join one associated with a group and fork, and there's these 3 layers that we see here. There are the there's the lobby, the general thing, and there is the groups that you can create or join, and from a group you can either discover NDOs, or you could also that you can join yourself, and you can create new NDOs from a group. So if you create an NDO as a Nondominium and specify its governance, it is no longer controlled by the organization. Doesn't matter if you create it from here. Okay, so I can create a thing called Hammer, and I put it as a Nondominium tool. Okay, it's a physical and it's a stable thing that we can use. Okay, once I create it, somebody can come and take it if they respect, if they fit the governance associated with this thing. They can actually take it and run away with it, and they're responsible for it until the next guy comes to use it. I don't control it. All right, it sits in this digital environment that is serverless, and nobody can really capture and control these things. Think of NDO as real-world assets. But real-world assets on blockchain are a little dumb, meaning that they're represented by a token. So it's just the transactional and speculative aspects of a resource, of an asset, that can be represented. The NDO actually has a rich identity, rich specification, has rules embedded within it. You're able to create these things in an uncapturable way, which is also, let's say, the blockchain case. And associated with every one of these primitives, NDO is all the activity, all the interactions that agents have had with them in the past. Okay. So it's a very rich representation of an asset, not just a token. It's not just for transacting and speculating on an asset. It's actually for people to collaborate on things. If it's something under development, like a project, or it's something that people can use, like a 3D printer, and share and mutualize and know where it is, and access it according to some rules, etc., etc. So these are functioning representation of resources, digital representation of resources in an economy that don't just allow transaction but actually rich interaction with them. Okay, I don't know what much else to say. Just follow this project. If you want, you can always join the project. Yeah, we can navigate to the browser. You can actually join the project from the Sensorica website, and you can finance this venture if you like. Go to the project page on the Sensorica website, go to Nondominium, point your agent, AA agent to it, and see how relevant it is for you. And by navigating to this page here, you could actually see what we're doing, who's working on what, access all the documentation that we have. This is the organizational kind of, it's the organizational part of this project venture. Okay. And guess what? Nondominium, it will itself be an NDO. Nondominium, right, is a digital. It'll be a Nondominium type of property. It's going to be a digital asset. All right, and anybody can join, like any other open source project, but with a much clearer, tighter, formalized, machine-readable governance associated with it, and an economic layer, meaning capturing everybody's contribution to it, and etc., etc. Great. Thank you very much for listening.